Welcome to video lesson number 23. Today we are doing a lesson on how to use a formula sheet to calculate the measurement of geometric figures. For this lesson, of course, you always need the TOC you're given in class. You will need a pencil or pen to take notes. You can use a highlighter, marker, or colored pencil just to highlight the important pieces on your TOC, and you are going to need a calculator for sure on this lesson. Let's jump right into these notes. And we're really just walking you through how to use a formula sheet. You have used these in the past, but you are going to have this digitally on your SOL. So, but we are going to give you a paper copy inside of your workbook and a paper copy that's laminated to use in class, but yours will be digital when you take your test online and on your SOL. So just know that moving forward. For your notes, the steps to solve measurement problems using a formula sheet. Number 1, identify what shape you are solving. So there's going to be triangles, squares, rectangles, and circles. Those are the 4 shapes that you have to choose from. And then once you've identified the shape, you have to determine what type of problem. And it could be a perimeter problem, an area problem, or a circumference problem if you're talking about circles. Once you've chosen the type of shape or the type of problem, then you need to write the formula on your paper. And it's really important that you write down the formula exactly as it appears on your formula sheet so you don't forget any pieces of the formula. Once you've written down the formula, plug in the values from the shape or from the problem that you're given. Read carefully and don't forget any of the pieces. That's what gets students on this. Not that they don't know how to do it, but they miss some of those pieces. They miss a decimal, or they don't look carefully at, especially with circles, they plug in the diameter when they are looking for the radius, things like that. And then once you've plugged in the values, you solve the problem. But when you're solving the problem, make sure you follow those order of operations. You're multiplying before you add, things like that. So just be careful. So here's what your formula sheet on paper is going to look like. Remember, you're just looking at those 4 shapes. They're going to have some abbreviations down at the bottom. You really don't need those. They're just kind of there. But these 4 shapes are what you're really going to look for. They do have that little thing about pi at the bottom. We don't use the pi button on the calculator, but you need to know that pi is equal to 3.14 is what we plug into the calculator. So let's get started on some examples. I just took a little picture of a close-up of the formula sheet so we can kind of zoom right in and get just what the formulas are. So if you look at your first example, we're finding the area of this shape. Kind of looks because it's a shape that's been tilted, but it really is just a square. And since we're finding the area with a square, you only have 2 options, perimeter or area. And since it's area, we need that formula. So first step, write down your formula. Area equals side squared. That's what S means, side. So since a square, all the sides are equal, then all I have to do is plug that in. My side is 3.8, so my formula is 3.8 squared. So all I have to do is plug that into my calculator. 3.8 times 3.8, not 3.8 times 2. It's 3.8 times 3.8. If I plug that in my calculator, then I get 14.44, or 14 and 44 hundredths. And with area problems, all area problems, your answers, your units are squared, which means your inches are squared. Don't put 14 and 44 hundredths squared. It's your inches or your units are squared at the end. So go ahead and take a second. Make sure you have all that work. So when you're writing these problems, we're looking for you to have the formula, plugging in the numbers, and then your answer. Don't just give me an answer. If you don't have the formula, plugging in the work, and your answer, then that's considered not showing any work and you will not get credit. No work, no credit. Example number 2. Obviously, this is a triangle. So let's go to the triangle shape. Notice with the triangle, there is no perimeter formula because with perimeter, you're just adding up all the sides. So know that if they ask for the perimeter of a triangle, you just add up all the sides. But with the formula for the area, the formula is half the base times the height. So this one, we'll talk about this in class, but with half, here's a trick. What is half? How am I going to put it in the calculator? We know what half is. Think, what is half of $1? Turn it into a decimal. We've done this since the beginning of the year. Half is the same as 0.5. So change that into a decimal so you can plug it into the calculator. From there, replace the base. That's the bottom measurement. That's 11. And then your height is, think height is how you're measured at the doctor. It's your straight up and down measurement. So that's 15. So take all those with multiplication. I can just multiply them straight across. So what is 0.5 times 11 times 15? Plug them all into your calculator and multiply them. And I get 82.5 centimeters squared. Go ahead and take a second. Make sure you get all that plugged in. All right. Our third example, obviously, is a circle. Notice on your formula sheet you have two different measurements. The D stands for diameter. Go ahead and write in that D stands for diameter and R stands for radius. Diameter is the full length of the circle. Again, right off to the side of the circle, that stands for diameter, and R stands for radius. Diameter and radius. Those are your two nuggets, right? Diameter and radius. Diameter is the full length of the circle. Radius is halfway. If I am looking for the area of a circle, my formula says pi, which is 3.14, times the radius squared. So the diameter of this circle is 24, which is all the way across the circle. Well, if I don't want the diameter, I only want the radius. The radius is half of that. It's halfway across the circle, which is half of 24 or 12. So let's plug everything into your formula. My formula is pi, which is 3.14, times the radius, which is 12, and then that is squared, which means not times 2, but 12 times 12. So now we got to plug it into the calculator. Remember to follow order of operations. That says I have to do the exponent first. Here's where students get into trouble. You get a calculator, but you still have to remember some of the things we learned earlier in the year. Exponents come before multiplication. 12 squared is 144. So I have to multiply that first before I multiply by 3.14. Now that I've multiplied my 12 squared, which is 144, I multiply by 3.14, and I get 452 and 1600ths. My unit is meters, and that is squared because it is area. All right, last example is a rectangle, and it is the perimeter. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of the rectangle, not the distance inside the middle. And my formula for that is perimeter equals twice the length, that's the long side, times or plus twice the width, which is the short side. So write your formula, and then we're going to plug in our numbers. Perimeter equals twice the length, which is 16, plus twice the width, which is 7. So P equals 2 times 16. 2 times 16 is 32, plus 2 times 7, which is 14. So now all I have to do is add 32 plus 14, and I get 46. Note what's different here. I did not square my inches because answers to perimeter problems are not squared. They are just single. So that's important to note. Area, I always say area, squarea. Area is squared. Perimeter is not. Area is squared. Perimeter is not. Area, squarea. Area, squarea. Easy way to remember it. And now it's time for you to log in, do your homework quiz, and show what you know.